The Green Man is an ancient pagan archetype. Now, all civilizations have a nature archetype, and at its basal it is represented by the feminine. And the feminine within traditional mythology is usually that of fecundity or fertility, but also of chaos. For instance, the ancient Babylonian Tiamat, a monstrous female dragon, represented chaos and creation. Nature as a force is destructive, all-consuming, and ultimately chaotic. But this archetype also represents growth, the never-ending cycle of birth, death, and indeed rebirth, and the reminder that everything falls into chaos as a natural state of being. Gaia was Mother Earth in Greek mythology and gave birth to the Titans, who would in turn give birth to the gods. Now, we won't get too far into the symbolism of the female, which in its own right is both primal and profound, because this is after all about the Green Man. But I'm just laying down some mythological bedrock. The Green Man was an aspect of nature within the feminine archetype, and so shared some of the properties of this chaotic primal force. It cannot be killed in any conventional sense, much like an aspect of nature. If you cut away any part, it simply grows back. The Green Knight of Arthurian legend was exemplified by this quality. Having had his head cut from his shoulders by Sir Gawain, he calmly walks back over to his head and puts his head back on. Something that was hilariously parodied in Monty Python's Holy Grail by the Black Knight, who refuses to believe he's been wounded at all, even when his severed limbs lie all around him. The spectral green huntsman of various European legends, as well as England's own Herne the Hunter, all seem to be grounded in the same mythological tradition. Surrounded by and even comprised of the flora and fauna around him, he is depicted as a staunch defender of the wilds and the forests, and is effectively their indestructible guardian. Again, very similar to the immortal Pan, the half-man, half-beast god of the wilds from Greek mythology, and Cernunnos, the wild god of the hunt from Celtic mythology. The wild hunt is also a portent led by these deities and their entourage as a vision which presages doom or imminent catastrophe in much of the pagan mythos. They represent many aspects of fertility: lust, the rutting stag, the rut, which is the recurring state of many male animals during which behaviour is driven by the urge to mate and reproduce, the embodiment of masculine energy within the archetype of fertility and power. Now, I wouldn't say Wolverine was originally conceived of in such a way, just as Hulk was not the childlike beast at the whim of his more extreme emotions for most of his tenure in comics. Many heroes, and indeed villains in comics, never arrive fully formed at their debut, but develop and evolve into the archetypes which comfortably encompass their spirit. But Wolverine, much like his masculine nature archetype, is regenerative. He's deadly and quick to anger, is always at his most content when surrounded by the seclusion of nature in the wilds and in the company of wild things, and is quick to avenge or protect those he perceives as helpless. Deadpool, although almost an antithesis of nature, being essentially a living cancer, still has a strong similarity to the Green Man archetype. His indestructibility, his ability to regenerate from almost any wound or dismemberment, and his modus operandi reads almost like a classical encyclopedia entry to the nature god himself, Pan. A lustful, elusive trickster given to his impulses and his desires, leaping into the unknown with animality as his impetus. I think that sums him up rather well. It is perhaps ironic that now, not so much in the past, that the Hulk, the literal Green Man, is very much a representative of the archetype which we are speaking. The immensely popular Immortal Hulk, Hulk's current manifestation within comics, is a nocturnal, protean, avenging force of nature. And like the Green Knight of legend, can be cut into multiple pieces only to reform in order to complete his quest for revenge. In some cases, reforming around his enemies, effectively subsuming them. I know I've missed out many, much of them more obvious than I've given examples of, but if you can think of any of these archetypes in comics, please, if any spring to mind indeed, list them in the comments below. And please subscribe, and I'll try to make regular content. Stay true and stay believing.